Are we live?
No!
Fuck it, let's do it live.
All right. I'm pulling up the little intro. So on go, everyone just be quiet for like 15 seconds.
Just shut the fuck up. I'm going to mute myself.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Wait, what? Hold on. It says items missing.
Wait, Cameron or Blake, you said to be quiet. What the hell?
I know. I'm sorry. We're having difficulties. I'm trying to open this file that Cameron sent me with the Hold on. Let me just.
Boo, Blake, worst producer ever.
Oh,
Boo.
fuck, I gotta do
I
something.
suck. It was just working.
Are we live right now? Is this on live? This is embarrassing.
Are we live?
All right. We're good. All right. So
Are we actually live though?
Brian talks
Yes,
shit
we
and
are.
then mutes himself.
all right. 3, 2, 1, go.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
All right, boys. We are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bona Fide Talk. We've got Blake Manzer, Cameron Campbell, Brian Edwards, and Garrett Lusk. This is episode 8. This is a special episode. We are going to do an election-themed episode today. So we're going to talk about all the things related to 2020's election cycle. But first off, we're going to need a drink to get there because this is going to be a toughie. So
Oh yeah, brother.
first off, let's get started. Cameron, what you drinking on over there, big dog?
Oh no, let's let Brian go first for this one.
Okay, B.
All right, Garrett. Don't get too high on your horse, but I'm still on these guys.
Oh jeez.
Ooh, okay. Hey, cheers, brother.
Oh,
Miller
some
Lite.
Miller
Let's
Lite.
go.
No way.
Good old American theme.
NASCAR beer, as my dad calls it. Oh yeah. Blake,
I-
what snooty beer do you have over there?
I don't think you guys are ready for this.
All right.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
For the election theme, I had to pull out the Trump
Wow.
koozie.
dude, that is sick.
But inside the Trump koozie, I'm drinking on a Sierra Nevada hazy IPA.
Those are really good. I really like those.
Yeah, this is probably
Nice.
my favorite beer of all time, honestly.
I'm gonna
Really?
guess that Connor bought you that
Wow.
koozie.
My parents actually did. I got it for Christmas last
Oh.
year.
Nice.
It was probably Connor's idea.
Very cool.
Yeah.
For our Spotify listeners, Blake has a Yeti like koozie for like a 12-ounce can, but it's ingrained Trump across the front. So tune in on YouTube if you want to see it. Very cool.
Yeah, they went up
All
to
right,
New
Cameron.
York last year and got this at Trump Tower.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
From the tower itself. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very cool.
So I'm having something I haven't had before. It's somewhat common. Lagunitas IPA. So, I mean, I've had a lot of IPAs, and this one's pretty good. Just has a little bit more of like a cerveza taste, you know? Just like a little bit more Corona, a little bit more, you know, Latino vibe going on there.
I might actually like that
Latin
IPA.
vibe. So, yeah, it's
I don't-
good. It's interesting. Like, there's fine print around the. I don't know.
I mean,
if
I've
you
had
can
a
see
lot of
that
IPAs,
around the
this one's pretty
label.
good.
Yeah.
It says, "Thanks for choosing to spend the next few minutes with this special homicidally hoppy ale. Savor the
What?
moment as
Wow,
raging
aggressive.
hop character engages the imperial qualities of Malt Foundation in mortal combat on the battlefield of your palate."
Wow.
Like a Civil
That's
War
intense.
style beer.
Yeah.
Cameron, you have
So-
the most
Right.
interesting descriptions on the beers that you drink.
That's how he chooses them. That's how he chooses
Yeah,
them at the
I don't
store.
just go in the store and just choose Miller Lite. That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, he spends an hour and a half on the beer aisle, literally reading every
all the
single
labels.
description, taking notes on which one he thinks is best. So, if you need advice on beer selections, holler at us, specifically Cameron. Anyway, so first order of business today, guys. So Blake and I are in a fantasy football league, the one that Cameron used to be in before he ghosted our commissioner Ben Wynette. And we had our draft on Monday night. Had a blast. 2.5 hours of all 12 of us on a Zoom catching up, talking shit. But first order of business is one of the fun parts of a fantasy football team is having a really cool team name. Okay, so Manzer, as you know, as typical as he is, has a bland team name, and it's just Team Manzer. Okay, so we're gonna right here on this pod to start off, we're going to choose a new team name for Blake. So first off, one idea, and I know Cameron and Brian will know about this. What's Blake's gamer tag on Xbox? That would be better than Team Manzer. Tell the crowd.
Manzer tank.
Manzer tank.
Okay, that's got to be one of the top 3 options. Okay, so
I'm down for it.
here I'll give 2 other options based on a couple of your players that I'm looking at. Here's a couple off the top of my noggin. Okay, so Manzer has a player named DJ Chark. How about Baby Chark? Do Baby Chark.
No.
That
no.
was the worst thing I've ever
Yes.
heard.
Yes.
God.
Baby
No,
Chark.
absolutely
Okay.
not.
Yep.
That's what you
Okay,
fucking came
here's
up with?
one.
Jesus.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Here's another one. All right. He's got a player named Cam Akers. How about Shady Acres?
I don't get it.
All right. I don't know.
What is it
It's better
called?
than
Like
Team Manzer.
somebody from the south would go up to the north. Is that carpetbagger or what's the other thing?
North to the south. Yeah, carpetbagger.
Yeah.
What's the there's an opposite though.
Oh,
Scalawag? Is it a
Blade?
I
scalawag?
don't know.
I think it's
Is it?
scalawag.
Carolinian scalawag.
Oh my god, I'm a
There you
pirate.
And we won't talk about his kicker's name here as a potential name opportunity. But how about this, Manzer? Let's just name it Manzer. That's so fitting. Just
I'm down
do
for it. I'll go with Manzer Tank.
Just do it.
Might as well
Perfect.
just
All
change
right,
my
that's
name to
settled.
that.
That's settled. Cameron, you said you had something you want to share with the crowd.
Oh yeah. It was just something funny that happened earlier today, actually. So when I was leaving work, like I said, I work in a country club, right? And so today I got an actual cash tip. So we don't often take cash. Everything's like charged to the members' accounts, and they'll tip you through there. But today I got an actual cash tip, and on the way out, I was driving through the neighborhood. And in the neighborhood, there were these kids at a stop sign in the neighborhood on the corner, and they were like selling lemonade and stuff. And I was like, that's cool. I want to support like kids doing that and like getting out and like learning business and learning stuff and whatever. So I like pulled over and was like, hey, what do you have? And he said, pull around, and then we'll like pull around to the driveway because it's in the neighborhood, and they'll take you there. So I pull up, and there's like these 2 kids sitting at this table. I pull up, I'm like, hey guys, what do you have? And it turns out to be these 2 little girls. I call them guys because they're wearing face masks and hats.
Oh yeah.
And like gloves and everything. I can't even tell. She's like, hey guys, and then they asked if I had a face mask to be able to like get anything. And I was like, no, I don't have one. And
They turned down your money.
dude, they required me to have a face mask to be able to buy their fucking lemonade or Sprite. Or they had different stuff.
Wow.
She was like, do you have some kind of cloth you can just put over your face? I guess it was just to like satisfy their parents, like, or whatever. Just like, do you have some kind of cloth? And I was just like, no. And like I just didn't want to like do that, like try and do that just so they could have like a mask on my face to buy friggin' lemonade from these little girls or whatever they were selling, Sprite and stuff. So I was like, sorry, like no, I can't. I have like I showed them the cash, and like literally my only cash tip I've gotten $4, and I was like, I'm gonna give them all these I'm gonna give them all the money as just want one thing, and they just wouldn't even serve me. These little girls at a lemonade stand wouldn't serve me.
What if they just backed up and you like set the money on the table?
Well, I didn't get out of the car. I wasn't going to. Like, I just want them to fucking hand me the water. Like, it's probably what I wanted, actually. It's like something. I really just want to give them money and like make a transaction for them and give them money,
Yeah.
But they required a face mask from me. I thought that was so ridiculous. And they were like, one of the little girls was like, I don't want to catch coronavirus. And I was just like, oh my God, kids are growing up
Why you
like
slinging
this.
lemonade?
Like, what? I was like, yeah, you don't. If you're so worried about it, then you like get one of those respirator masks and all the stuff. But like, it's just ridiculous what coronavirus is doing to like even little kids. I would hate to be a little kid right now. I'm so glad.
Yeah, it's tough.
So glad.
That's wild, dude. Hey, at least they're convicted in their values. They didn't go back on what they believe. They stuck to their guns. I gotta respect that.
So
but
sad.
damn, that's intense. That's intense.
They looked so sad. And I was like, I was gonna pay you money.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. That's just the harsh reality of this world that we live in right now. Brian, talk to us, man. You've been teasing this story for days. What the hell do you have up your sleeve?
So tonight is the election episode, as Garrett mentioned, and to kick this off, I wanted to bring up a huge issue that is currently affecting all Americans across the country. And real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to Faith Williams for sourcing this topic and bring it to the forefront.
Okay. Shout out, Faith.
So I've got some thoughts on this, but wanted to get some dialogue flowing before I weigh in on it. So birds, you know, the little like animals that fly around and whatnot. Are they real?
I've seen them.
No.
Are they real? Or are they fake and simply a way the government is spying in on us Americans?
Okay.
So I have my thoughts. So I'm gonna turn this over to y'all.
Okay, Cameron, you seem like the expert in this category. Get away.
That's the funny thing about this whole thing. The whole birds aren't real thing. I probably should have gone first.
Okay, I'll go
the
first.
Birds
I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, let me go first. Okay, so as a person who tries not to continuously question my reality, I have accepted birds my entire life. I've seen them fly. I've seen them land. I've heard them make noises. I've been to a zoo. I've been in my backyard and seen them fly around and have babies and build nests and all this kind of stuff. So as someone, again, who tries not to question everything in my reality, I accept birds. And if they are drones, damn it, let them be drones. Because I've also been duck hunting, and that means I've been taking out government drones with bullets, if this is what we're going to agree on. So I'm okay with that, too. So, listen, I have no ground to stand upon in this argument, but I'm going to say that I'm just going to accept birds as birds and not drones. But please, y'all convince me otherwise.
I don't know, man. I'm skeptical of them. They're always just flying around, cocking their head, looking around, making weird noises with their mouth. I mean, that's not a normal animal. That's a drone. That is a government spy machine. And this is what the coronavirus pandemic is all about, is so that the government can recharge their drones and spy on us some more. I think it's an outrage, honestly. And I think we should all be a little bit more upset about the fact that we've been lied to our entire life.
Dude, that's a good point.
Dude,
I'm actually pissed. Do we need to call Tucker Carlson and get Fox News clued in on this?
Let's get old Tuck.
Is this something? Is this about to be a movement? Are we about to create a movement?
Bro, it is a movement on Instagram. That's what I guess Faith has seen on Instagram. It's a funny little movement. It's satirical for sure. They won't come out and say it, because it's part of the joke. But it's like a funny thing that like it's one of those just conspiracy theories. It's a real conspiracy theory that like birds have been drones and stuff. But there's no way like that birds aren't real means like they took out, like the premise of it is that they took out all the birds. So first of all, birds were real but aren't real anymore is the basic premise of it. They took them all out, they killed them all and replaced them with drones. So how ridiculous is that?
I don't see the disconnect in logic.
I mean, how many are there? More than billions? Were there trillions of birds before? Probably. How could they kill them all? They can't. It's fake. There have been bird drones. If you don't think so, then you're just kind of shitting in the face of scientists that create these kind of things because you don't think they're capable of doing it. What?
A real bird shill. Sorry,
A real bird. Birds are real shill.
Yeah,
I'm getting paid by big birds are real. Big birds are real.
You're getting paid by Big Bird.
Okay.
I'm just imagining.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just imagining this shady alley dealing where Big Bird's handing me a bag of money and being like, "Don't tell them we're real."
Okay. So how about this, boys? What about the bird flu of the past generations that killed hundreds of thousands of people? Was that a government-induced virus?
That was a psyop.
Right. What about this? So, if that was government-induced, does that mean that birds cause coronavirus?
Birds cause
That makes too
coronavirus.
much sense, Garrett. Come on now.
Or
I think we need
or was
to
it 5G?
enforce. I think we need to enforce masks
Was it
on
5G?
birds. Birds keep flying around and breathing, and their droplets come down and land in your mouth and in your eyes and in your ears and give you coronavirus. So we need to mandate masks for birds.
No, dude, that's
a market.
But hey, maybe that'll be a populist movement, because if we put masks on birds, then the government can't see us. So maybe we'll catch them in their lie by putting masks on their face, causing them to not be able to see and spy on the people. I'm for it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So my take on this
What's your take?
So back in the 80s, the whole premise of I don't know if conspiracy is the right word, so it kind of makes a little too much sense, right? So back in the 80s, I forget what presidential administration was responsible for this atrocity, but essentially my thought is you have two kinds of birds. You've got the bots, so like the government, drone, spies, whatever you want to call them, which are pigeons. All right? Think about it this way. Where do you see pigeons mostly? In cities, right? Where there are very high concentrations of people, so the government needs more drones to cover more people, and spying on them obviously makes a lot of sense. But like the pretty birds, like cardinals and whatnot, I still believe that they're real and actual animals. But pigeons, have you ever messed with a pigeon, dude? They're definitely bots. Yeah, they're just tweaking their head a little weird ways. That's my take on it. Not all birds are fake, but some are real.
Oh, we've got an interesting take from Brigham Gary in the chat. So he says that bats aren't real. Who has ever really seen a bat? Bats are the drones. The government made bats, therefore made coronavirus. Now that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, that does make sense. I could see. Okay, it looked like a bot.
They fly way too erratically to be bots.
That's what they want you to think.
Unless they programmed erraticity.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Unless they programmed erratic behavior.
Okay.
It's controlled chaos.
Try to make up my own.
All right, I'm following.
Then they fly way too erratically to be drones. I don't believe it for 1 second.
So maybe let's do this, okay? Maybe let's create a poll on the Instagram after this episode and ask the people if birds are real. Okay, first off, and then second question is, okay, if birds are not real, which bird is most likely a drone? I'm sold on pigeons right now. Brian's got me sold. Okay, we'll have to ask the people. Hey, don't sleep on flamingos. I'm just saying, those things are way too robotic looking, and don't sleep on those.
There could be different tiers of bots, dude.
Yeah,
you have a point.
Interesting. So here we are.
They can be any bird.
So I think we've come to a conclusion, right? A decent bit of birds are real, but then some are fake.
I think I'm pretty sure how they made Happy Feet was a bird drone, right? That's how they made that movie? They just had one walk around with the other penguins, and they recorded it all, everything that was happening.
All the dancing and everything, yeah.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how they made that movie.
They've uncovered their own conspiracy. Wow. So here we are.
How about the American Eagle?
I guess
the symbol of America.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
I think an important factor in this upcoming election is going to be the drone eagle versus the real organic eagle.
We've got a call out to our chat. Brigham Gary here. Back to the bats. He was saying they sleep upside down. Who the hell does that? It's some weird charging mechanism. That's pretty insightful.
Brigham might be onto something. We might need to bring him on to really settle this bird conversation, because where I stand right now, I don't have enough information, and I need more perspective to really truly understand the conversation. So Brigham, if you're listening, we might need to get you on.
Is a bat a bird?
It's a mammal, you idiot.
That's what I thought. We're talking about birds. Bats aren't birds.
Wait, is a bat a mammal?
Are birds mammals?
No.
No, they're birds. They're like pterodactyls.
Yeah, bats are mammals. They're
the
only flying mammal.
Hey.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about birds is if it flies, it dies. Damn it. Okay.
I don't think bats aren't drones. Bats are aliens, and they come from an upside down world.
Bloodsuckers.
The upside down, like Stranger Things.
The upside down, like, yeah, hell.
Yeah.
Bats are from hell. Bat out of hell.
There you go. All right. So this conversation is not settled. We'll settle it another day. Too many questions here and not enough answers. So today, like we mentioned, we want to talk about the election. We're recording September 3rd. Election is 2 months from now, November 4th. There are two very controversial candidates at play. Obviously, we have an incumbent candidate that we will bring up, but we also have a Democratic challenger. We will bring up both of those. But I said there. So what I want to kind of start off with is I did some research today, and I feel like we all kind of inherently believe this, but this statistic and this poll kind of captures this. So the Pew Research Center of U.S. Policy and Politics did a poll, and they do a poll every election cycle, and they ask potential voters, do you think that this presidential election will shape the future of the most important issues? And they lay them out. And the voters get to decide, yes, this election matters more than ever, or no, things will continuously stay the same no matter who's elected. 83% of people said that this election matters more than any other election in the past, and that it'll shape the future of our country.
Wow.
It really matters who wins the presidential elections, okay? So that's 83% of voters. That's up from 74% in 2016, and that is the highest that we've ever seen. In 2000, the number was 50%. So that kind of goes to show like how big the presidential election has become in our society over the last 2 decades. It's gone from 50% to 83% of voters who think that the world is hingent on this election. So I present that we can have a conversation today about, one, the importance of the election, how much it really matters, and what does it mean. 2, who are the options? Who are we potentially voting for? And 3, what issues are important to us, to you, and to other voters out there who will be deciding who our next president is for the next 4 years. So, Cameron, do you have anything that you want to add to that about anything real quick before we get into the candidates?
Sure. I think that the elites in our country, not only our country, all over the world, the most elite, want us to care more about the election and put more of our faith in the federal government instead of in ourselves and our local governments. So I think that goes right in line with what kind of they want. I don't know any super powerful elites, but I don't know. I don't think it's good for the country. I think local government and what we want is more important. I think the purpose of the federal government is to uphold the Constitution, which they haven't been doing. So I've been less and less interested in the federal government.
Right. Very cool. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at, guys. Is we're just gonna have a conversation about who the candidates are, and like Cameron mentioned, is the presidential election really that important to your daily activities? And we'll get into that. So first off, I want to start off by talking about the two primary candidates from the two primary parties that we have in our country today. First off, Blake, Brian, give me some insight that y'all have on Joe Biden. Just like not reading any stats, just like off the cusp. What do you think about Joe Biden when you hear that name? What comes to mind?
I can kind of take that first. Mine's going to be more of a high level, like what you see through social media, stuff like that, which isn't, as we all know, the best way to get your news. I will say his presence is a little concerning, meaning, we've all seen the videos where he struggles to piece together a sentence or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying the incumbent that is also on the other side has the best social media strategy, as we all know. He's got some Twitter fingers. But at the same time, he is able to stand in front of a crowd and, articulate a good conversation, whereas with Joe Biden, we haven't really seen that yet. So I'm really curious to see with these debates coming up, how that plays out. Granted, they do have with Joe Biden's VP that is running with him has a pretty good stage presence too. But that's just kind of like the high level, how they make you feel, how you see them in the news type stuff. Blake, I'll let you. I don't know if you have any more specifics regarding, policies, stuff like that.
Yeah. Whenever I guess, whenever I think of Joe Biden, I just see him as like really just trying to think of how I want to put this in words.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say puppet, which is a little derogatory, and I don't mean it to be, but just like a figurehead for the Democratic Party. He hasn't really been super presidential, I would say, in terms of his public presence, like Brian was saying. Haven't heard a lot of actual speeches from him. Part of that could be due to the fact that he has a little bit of trouble speaking. But he's more of just like a talking head for a lot of the policies and ideals that come from that side of the aisle. What I think is really interesting about this election, and probably the first time that I've ever seen this in my life of actually paying attention to politics, is so much hype around a vice presidential candidate. Obviously he picked Kamala Harris as his VP nomination a few weeks ago, and as most of us know, she was actually in the presidential race a few months ago until she dropped out. But there seems to be more hype around Kamala Harris being the vice presidential candidate rather than Joe Biden being the presidential candidate. She does appear to have that stage presence. She is a good speaker. Her views on things are one thing. But she is. I think she's part of the reason that the Democrats went for her is because she does have that authoritative presence that you kind of that accompanies a presidential role, which is interesting because she's the vice presidential nominee.
She's impressive too. She's sharp. She'll get up on a stage, present something very clearly, articulately. So I think that, I don't know how the debates work too. Like, would a VP be able to get in a debate with the president? So would we see a debate between Trump and Kamala Harris? Because I think that could be pretty interesting.
No,
but
you
I
won't.
don't know if they do.
Yeah,
I think
there will be. They do vice presidential debates and obviously presidential on presidential debates, but you won't ever see a presidential candidate face off against a vice presidential candidate from the opposite party. Cameron, go ahead.
why not? What's stopping that?
I think just the nature of the office. I don't have exact answers on that, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing really official behind the debates, honestly. There's nothing like legal about it. There's nothing that has to happen, technically. The debates don't have to happen. Joe Biden doesn't have to show up. I think he's going to try not to. I think there's already been talks of Kamala Harris trying to take his spot in the debates and trying to debate for him because he's incompetent. He can't he can't have a legitimate debate and complete coherent sentences for hours. I mean, maybe he could for 10 minutes, but an hour
real quick,
plus?
Cameron, let me jump in here and give some high level context to what you guys all have presented. So, Brian, you brought up a good point. Kamala Harris is the vice presidential candidate under Joe Biden. He selected her to be his running mate. She's an African American, good looking, well put together person. Speaks well, has a great stage presence, and she's pretty highly thought of in the Democratic realm. And also, a lot of times too, like what will happen, and this has gone all the way back throughout history since the vice presidential candidate was selected by the presidential candidate, is the presidential candidate tries to select a vice president that will help them get elected. So, like going back to John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was a Eastern Coast Yankee. He was a Catholic, and he got a lot of criticism for that. So to combat that criticism, he selected Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a Texas Democrat, think of Protestant roots, whatever, to try to help create a bigger picture to appeal to more voters. So my understanding here is that Biden and the Democrats chose Kamala Harris to help appeal to more voters, whether that be African Americans, whether that be women, just anyone who believes in either candidate. Okay, so I wanted to present a couple things. Another point that y'all brought up was, and this has been a contentious topic during this election cycle, is okay, Joe Biden is 78 years old. Okay, 78. He's been in politics since 1972. He was elected as the Delaware State Senator in 1972, and has been in politics ever since. He was vice president under Barack Obama for 8 years, from 2008 to 2016. Okay, a couple things that I did not know when I did my research. First off, I did not know that Joe Biden ran for president in 1988. That would have been Ronald Reagan's final year in office. That would have been the year that George H.W. Bush ran as the VP and ended up winning that election. But Biden ran in 1988 and ended up pulling out of the race because of two things: plagiarism issues. There were a couple of speech writing issues to where he got called out for framing a couple of the Kennedy's speeches. And then the second thing was he got caught in a lie, and this has kind of been brought up during this election cycle. Biden got caught in a lie about marching in the civil rights movement. That's been a big thing. He got caught in 1988, standing on the grounds that he marched in the movement, and a lot of people have claimed that that's falsely bodied. But going back to Joe Biden this is another thing that I did not know. In 1988, after he was kind of forcibly brought to pull out of the race, Biden had 2 brain surgeries in 1988.
Really?
2 serious brain surgeries. Yeah. So after he pulled out of the race in 1988, he had brain aneurysm. And this was like a really big deal. I mean, the doctors, from what I read, the doctors gave him a 50% chance of recovery. He was out of the office for at least a year. Very serious situation where like he got open brain surgery twice in 1 year for aneurysms. So, I'm not saying that directly correlates to his views that he's having right now during the election cycle, but a candidate who's 78 years old, who is obviously struggling to get through speeches and not making very many public appearances. There's a lot of concern there, right? We've kind of been made known that Kamala Harris has been chosen as the vice presidential candidate, but we might need to put more validity behind that because the Democrats and most people seem to accept the fact that Joe Biden is practically senile. I mean, he's basically at that point to where he's struggling to get through his daily activities. And I mean, there's a very likely reality to where Kamala Harris could become president if Joe Biden gets elected. Does that make sense? I mean, like there probably should be some more legitimacy there behind understanding why she was chosen as VP. Last point, I'm getting long-winded, I know, but last one I want to make real quick is Kamala Harris did run for the Democratic ticket in 2020. That's not very commonly talked about. She did run. She ran. So she announced her candidacy January 21st in 2019 and ran for the entirety of last year and really was not a popular candidate amongst the Democrats. She struggled raising money. She came under a lot of fire for various things and had to back out less than a year later. So it's almost like hypocritical where it's like, okay, Kamala Harris was not a good Democratic candidate. They didn't accept her, but now that she's the vice presidential candidate, now they've fallen in love with her.
Well, right. I think she was popular amongst the establishment Democrats, and that's why she ended up, making it to the position where she's at now. But amongst a lot of amongst the people, really, I feel like Bernie Sanders was by far the most popular choice for them. It just he didn't seem to fit the establishment bill that the Democrats wanted. And Joe Biden, who is probably the most establishment, in quotes, establishment Democrat that you can think of, he's the one who ended up getting the nomination. And so, it. And so you said that Kamala Harris, she wasn't very popular. I feel like I think she was pretty popular. I remember there being a lot of hype around her back when there was like 13 Democratic candidates at one point. She was definitely up there in the top 3. But there were certain things that caused her to lose a little traction. Other fellow Democratic candidates kind of knocked her off that pedestal.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the Democrats went out.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, the Democrats went after each other during the debates. I mean, I'm thinking about the other, top 4 probably, as far as like you said, what's his name? Shit. Oh my God, the socialist. Oh, Bernie. Okay, Bernie. So there's like Bernie, Biden, and then there was like Elizabeth Warren, Kamala. Well, yeah, Elizabeth Warren, she was one of the popular ones. Kamala was one of the popular ones.
Andrew Yang.
Yang was one of the popular ones.
Gabbard.
Tulsi, she kinda. She got more Republicans, more centrist Republicans than anything. But she wasn't, I don't think she was really ever a threat. Elizabeth Warren, she had a good female presence. I think a lot of people wanted. For Democrats, it's a lot about intersectional politics and identity. So it's about class structure and power structure for them. It's about being male versus female. So female would be more of a victim. It's being against majority versus minority. And stuff like that, like intersectional politics and identity politics is what the Democratic Party is going for. So those kind of people did well, but I think that's the centrists really got all the Democrats, Biden, Kamala, and I think, those were the 2 most centrist ones, honestly, and I think that's why they were chosen by the Democratic Party. Was to be more centrist and to reach more of those centrist Republican voters that just don't like Trump because of how much Trump hate has been in the media. Like everyone just hates Trump, anything but Trump,
Yeah.
Those were two of the most
Fair point.
centrist. Plus, Kamala fills those intersectional identity politics holes. Joe Biden is just an old white male from the establishment. Kamala is at least a black / Native American. She was praised for being Native American.
I thought she was South Asian
years ago. You know, she's not white, so people really don't care. Honestly,
Like
they'll call her whatever it is to fit the narrative. First Native American senator / whatever. I don't know. They've given her a bunch of titles as far as her ethnicity.
Right.
But
okay, so the strategy then would be using Biden's impressive political resume. Because Gary, did you say 72 was when he was?
1972 was when he
48
joined
years,
the Senate.
dude.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And he's weathered his ups and downs, like you mentioned. In '88, ran for president, and obviously had some of those health concerns. But 48 years in politics, there's some wisdom there. So they have him as the presidential figurehead, and then they have Kamala, who's going to kind of bring the fire. And like Cameron said, fit the bill to go out there and really grab some of the more central Republicans, which for a strategy, that's pretty insightful.
And really leftist Republicans as well, because those are the people that have these ideologies that include intersectionality and stuff like that. So she's going for a lot of the leftists. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say black people aren't going to like her very much, honestly, because one, she's light skinned. Black people are very into that, who's darker, who's lighter. You're light skinned, you're dark, whatever. So I dated a black girl before. I kind of know how it is with them, and I don't think they're gonna like this light skinned establishment female very much, honestly. I think she's more satisfying the leftists that are going for those intersectional politics. She's a female. She's not a male. Number one.
Real quick, so this word's been bounced around a lot, and I think we all kind of understand what it means. I don't know if everyone does. So let's talk a little bit about establishment and what the establishment is and what the inverse of the establishment is, which I think Trump has kind of encapsulated during his campaign process and as president over the last 4 years, is kind of more the populist side of the aisle. So, Blake, do you want to go ahead and give your perspective on what you think those two things mean, establishment versus populist?
Yeah. So whenever I think of the word establishment, I just think of a power structure that's been in place for a long time. It's had enough time to build its foundation, put a rock solid foothold into the American government, and it's kind of that's where all the real powerful people that you think of operate. Your lifelong politicians, your your high level bankers, high level business executives, people that subscribe to this or that are part of this you know power structure that's been around for a while. Whereas a lot of times that's at odds with what is best for the people. And so that's where the word populist comes in. It's the word populist kind of comes off. It's based on the word popular, which is based off what the majority of the population wants. So a populist movement, or a populist candidate at least, is one who is more focused on doing what benefits the majority of people. It's kind of like that democratic foundation, and is a lot of times at odds with what the establishment power structure wants, which tends to only benefit those who are in power. There's a saying that everyone's heard: power corrupts, and once you've had power for a certain amount of time, it's like a snowball effect. You want more and more power, and a lot of times that's at odds with what's best for the population.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Brian, do you have anything you want to add to that? I think he might be on mute right now.
Yeah,
can't even see him.
I think that was a good, like, just kind of definitive look at it. I actually had to think about it for a second. Took me back to the APUS history days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I think that's very well said, Manzer. You know, going back to 20, we all remember the term that Trump used, drain the swamp. And I think that was a very encapsulating term because, you know, when you think about the establishment, like you said, people who have their footholds through experience and through time and their positions of power. And, you know, we think primarily of politics, but that could be in any business model. You know, there, like you said, people crave power over time. It only grows. It does not decrease. That's why we often see Congress people in power elected over generations, kind of like Joe Biden. You know, he was in Congress for 30 years before he moved into vice president, now presidential candidate. So you have to understand that there are pros, like Brian mentioned, experience and wisdom, but there's also cons where it's like, okay, this person could very well be taking advantage of their power by this. And the people in the establishment hold a lot of the cards against some of the populist movement people. You know, for example, look at Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was the populist candidate for the Democrats. Obviously, he stands on the socialist side of the aisle, but he had populist-centric ideals. And if you go back to the 2016 election cycle, it's proven, it's in emails that Bernie Sanders was conspired against by the Democratic Party, the higher ups of the Democratic establishment, because he was the populist and that they wanted their centrist candidate and Hillary Clinton to win the primary, to win the candidacy for office. There are higher up emails that confirm this, and you know that you could make the argument that happened again in the 2020 cycle. There was a time period very recently this year where Bernie Sanders was the far and away candidate for the Democratic Party. Joe Biden was an afterthought, and Bernie was leading.
Biden was not anywhere close to leading in the primaries when that was going on. I was paying attention to that when it was happening, when like those Democratic debates were happening. Biden was not anywhere near the top, and it's hilarious how he was chosen. It's just funny.
So
it's funny to watch, honestly.
When I think of establishment, that was very long-winded, but this is what I want to say. When I think of establishment, I think of people that I don't know, names that I don't know about, invisible faces, people that are on the sidelines that have been in power for years and years that are kind of operating this like invisible hand, that are kind of governing the power structure of our country in a way that favors them, if that makes sense. And I think that's kind of what Trump was getting at with the drain the swamp is, okay, these people that you don't know about that are part of the swamp, we're going to get rid of them. We're going to replace them with new ideas, fresh ideas, and ideas that are going to favor the people, not those in power in government and other industries. Anyway, I just wanted us to kind of talk on that just so people truly understood what that means, because I do think that that's a very fundamental going into this election is the side of the establishment, which I think Biden is the establishment candidate in this scenario, and then the side of the populace, which I think Trump is the populist candidate. Yeah. Would you all agree?
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, cool. Absolutely. In that scenario.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk a little bit more about the you know, some of the differences between the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign? You know, what each of their platforms is. I'll just come out and say that I honestly, I mean, I know they're obviously a very distinct dichotomy, pretty polar opposites from each other. But in terms of either of their you know, what they're trying to accomplish during their presidency, I don't know a whole lot about. I just know, you know, what I hear from the news. Trump bad.
Yeah.
Biden, you know, he good. He,
Biden.
You know, Trump racist. Biden, lover of all people. I don't know. So, but that's all. That's all I really hear is their social stance on things, or at least the media portrayal of their social stance on things. But what? Let's think of like what we actually vote for, or what the actual role of a president is. Garrett, you said earlier that the federal government is there, or should be there at least, to protect, or actually no, I think Cameron, maybe you said this, was there to uphold the Constitution. Really, and at least in my eyes, they should uphold and protect the Constitution and protect the country against foreign threats. The president is kind of like the figurehead for the world, kind of just similar to like the Queen of England. She's like the figurehead around the world. That's like they represent our country on the world stage. And so I feel like we don't really hear a whole lot about what our future leaders are going to do for us on the world stage. It's more so just a difference in their personalities.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, we've been hearing about the world stage, the quote unquote New World Order, since the 70s. Honestly, presidents have been saying that in speeches, that we're not just the United States, we're part of this New World Order. That's much more than just us. And that's exactly right. The Constitution is the most important. But it's been changed, it's been ratified. We know that for sure.
Yeah. So real quick, I guess not real quick. Let's really dive into this. So as you basically presented the question of, okay, what's the difference between you guys? If they're both old white guys, 74, 78 years old, they're both probably wealthy. Like, okay, you see that on the surface, but diving in, like when they actually are elected, what the hell is going to be the difference? Okay. Let me just point on this. I'll let you guys kind of take your own stances based on your knowledge. But from what I understand, I've done a little bit of reading on Biden and Trump's like actual pages. If you go to joebiden.com and go to his vision tab, you can pull up every policy that he has, like what he believes on every point of like what every contentious issue. And I did a little bit of reading on like economic recovery and stuff. And fundamentally, what I kind of decided after reading this was Biden and Trump differ from an economic standpoint based on equal opportunity. Okay? So basically what I mean by that is, okay, Trump, his vision for economic opportunity is putting all the cards in place so that you have the opportunity to build whatever it is that you want to build with your life. That's basically the American dream. Trump sells the American dream. He wants to build something that embodies the classic American dream, that through hard work and determination that you can build whatever you want. What I understand on the Joe Biden page is Joe Biden also.
I want to play a little devil's advocate, because I hear things, I see things from both sides, and I consider everything. So a lot of people say, Trump's for the rich. He's not for what you were saying. He's for just the 1%. The 1% love him so much because he makes them richer and makes the poor poorer. So I hear that a lot from people I'm around. From I'm around people that believe in everything, and I don't try and shut them down when they're wrong. I just try and hear them out, maybe interject a few things. But I hear that a lot from people, is that Trump's just for the 1%. Those people love him so much because he makes them richer.
Yeah, that's and I think if you go onto the Joe Biden website, you're going to find. I've actually read a few sentences very similar to that. Is Republicans and conservatives tend to get back for that right there, that their policies favor the wealthy, and that their policies will just make the wealthy wealthier, and that it won't bridge the gap, so to speak, between the poor and the rich, right?
Yeah.
So right here on Joe Biden's page, it says every American enjoys a fair return. Okay, and that's kind of what I wanted to touch on here. Is what I believe is the true difference between these two candidates on their viewpoints on the economy is that Trump tries to present a equal opportunity to where people can achieve the American dream. And I think this has kind of been a Democrat liberal policy over time is liberals want equal return. They want fair return. They want fairness in all aspects. Okay. And so like there's a human element there that you can't politicize and that you can't put into legislation of inherent drive and like want to in your own life, right? And I think what we see in a lot of these policies from like the more liberal side is they're trying to create fair return. What I mean by that is like, okay, if you work 10 hours, you work 10 hours, you both will make the same amount of money. That's kind of like the socialist platform there. But in reality, that's not always going to be the case. People are going to have advantages through their networks, through their inherent skill sets, through their drive and work ethic, etc. And they should be rewarded for that. Should be rewarded for that. So I think that's kind of the difference I wanted to hit was the difference between economic opportunity and fairness in like economic. Yes, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's like, this is where my personal like beliefs will come out, where like I don't like that verbiage, the fair return, because that is completely subjective as to what one person thinks is fair versus the other. And like you said, it kind of hits more on like a socialist kind of ideology, whereas as we know, like America is capitalism. So like my example would be say we all have 1 year, and you have a Jeff Bezos and what he does in a year, and then you have like an average just like working class person. So Jeff Bezos in a year, and this is purely hypothetical, but what he has done over the years, he's generated jobs. So let's say it's fair to assume Jeff Bezos, based on his productivity in a year, he's going to make probably at least a couple thousand jobs for other people, grow the economy, provide them with health care, provide them with the benefits of being an employee, provide them with a consistent paycheck. Whereas you have the other working class person who, they love their life, and like that, like we said, like some people are born with drive to do something big, like build a huge company like Jeff Bezos has done. But some people are very like satisfied living a working class life, like making an honest living. And in a year, they might have like, from an economic standpoint, produced enough work to say they got paid $60,000 and they're happy. They go back home to their family and whatnot. Whereas Jeff Bezos has, maybe made some sacrifices along the way. Not saying that the other person didn't make sacrifices either, but he generated a lot more from an economic standpoint. And in a capitalist country that America is, that should be rewarded. That shouldn't be deemed, oh, Jeff Bezos needs a fair return based on what some policymaker thinks that is, and limit his income potential. Because ultimately, if you're going to limit his income potential, you're going to diminish the thousands of jobs that he can create and affect way more people. So back to your initial point, like, and again, this is where my personal beliefs is productivity and working smarter and generating, ultimately more economic benefit should be rewarded and not limited. And that, I know that opens up a huge can of worms because there's so much in that, but I don't know. That's just what I think. And when I hear a fair return, it kind of makes me cringe because that's completely up to the interpretation of different individuals what fair is. So,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
my thoughts there.
This country should be based on a meritocracy where you get rewarded for your achievements and your hard work. And if you're not, if you're lazy and you watch Netflix all day, then you're not going to be able to benefit as much as someone who puts in the work. Hopefully putting in the work to benefit the community and other people, growing a business, providing some sort of good or service that's going to help someone else down the line. So I think what the goal, up, along with defending our rights and freedoms, um, from those who are trying to take that away. I think another role of the government should be to provide an even playing field for people,
Yeah.
so that everyone starts, or so that, or it, and it's something that's, I don't think is ever fully achievable, but I think it's a goal that should be at the forefront of the government's mind, is, to make sure that everyone starts off on the same foot. We all know that, you know, certain people, especially those in inner cities, or maybe some rural parts of around the country, aren't going to start off with the same advantages that all four of us, or yeah, all four of us started off with. Just like all the four of us didn't start off with the same advantages that, Jeff Bezos's children starts off with. So
Mm.
I think part of the role of government should be to ensure that everyone has the opportunity, the equal opportunity to succeed. But it's not their job to ensure that everyone has an equal outcome.
Right.
You shouldn't
And there's
mandate.
something. Keep
Uh,
going.
yeah, I'll just finish my thought. You shouldn't mandate, um, you know, the same slice of the pie for every single person, because not everyone's going to work as hard as the other person for that slice of pie. Every human being is equal in worth. They're equal in their life's value, but they're not. We're not all equal in
Yep.
ability, and there's different abilities that people shine in. Some people are smarter than others, while others are better at sports. Some people are, more artistically inclined, while others are better at, managing a group of people. Everyone's got their own skill set, but it's not, not everyone is equal in their skill set. And I
Right.
think trying to ensure equal outcome ultimately hurts progression.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Definitely.
extremely limiting, like philosophy. And as we know, if you want to go to like a communist country like China or something like that, that's what they genuinely believe in. But in America, as we know, it's democracy, capitalism. Um, so when you have limiting beliefs like that of fair amounts and whatnot, I think it's extremely limiting and ultimately not kind of what it stands for. And something you said too, I just wanted to like clear up is, I think it really comes down to a choice. Like, say somebody really enjoys their life, like working, doing whatever, and then maybe they love going to the movies or watching Netflix and stuff, and they don't really have ambition to go and do much more, but they enjoy life. Like, that's their choice. Whereas somebody else has the choice to go and build a business. Maybe they do want to like build wealth, or maybe that's just what they find fun to do. Like I think it comes down to a choice, and when you try to limit that, it almost like it takes the choice out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think something very important about that choice is what comes with the choice. And what always comes with choice is consequences. There's
Mm.
always consequences to your actions, and I think taking away consequences from actions by the government is detrimental to the society. Because if somebody makes a certain action and they don't receive the proper consequences, then they won't realize the negative effect that they're having, truly, because their consequences aren't shown to them. So I think when
Yeah.
you're saying it's really a difficult conversation when you're talking about equal opportunity, um, versus equal outcome, and then
Right.
when you're even talking about equal opportunity, because what we all want to do is, I mean, we're really not all parents yet, but what all parents want to do is give the best opportunity to their children, right? So,
Mm.
say you're just a shitty person who, gets a girl pregnant, you're not married to her, you have a child, um, and the child doesn't grow up, given any special opportunities because you didn't provide them for that child. And then you look at a parent who did everything they could, had a child with a woman they loved, stayed with that woman to provide a good household for that child to grow up in, to give them every opportunity possible to succeed in this world. How can you say the government has the role of equal opportunity when we have to leave freedom of choice up to those parents of those children? So education has taken the public school system has taken part of this role away from parents, and has said, we will give equal opportunity to your kids without your consent or your will, your own strength of giving these opportunities to your kids. We're going to do it for you. And so I think that's a big problem with a lot of Americans and a lot of people in general, is giving up their own rights and their own rights as humans to the government. I think one of the things on most people's like agenda of what's important as far as policies and legislature being passed is, say, healthcare. That's one huge thing. And a lot of people want to pass that off to the government. They want to pass that off to the doctor. They want to pass that off to other people. They don't want their responsibility on themselves as an individual to be responsible of their own health and their own proactive health towards, I've seen recently in the past week, it's been released to the CDC, 94% of coronavirus deaths were linked with other medical conditions like prior to that. So people want to say this is a pandemic that isn't my fault, yet the only reason I'm dying is because of another condition that I have. So it's a lot of this like, I don't want to be responsible for myself type thing. And I've been reading 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and the first chapter, the first habit is being responsible for yourself and your own actions. I forget, here, I have it in my notes, what the chapter is called. Personal vision is the first habit. But being responsible for yourself and your own self, and not transferring these responsibilities onto other people, as far as legislature, as far as the Constitution itself. The Constitution itself is really the Constitution of the people. What is your personal Constitution? Your Constitution as a man, like, what is that? And that is the Constitution of the people. That's the Constitution of the people of the United States of America. So like, it's very important personally, not just to pass that responsibility on to the federal government.
Yeah, that was awesome, Cameron. I think that was very well said. That was kind of what I wanted to say next. I'm glad that you kind of took that over, because you encapsulated that very well. That's got to be one of the main fundamental value differences between a lot of the people that vote on either side of the aisle in this election. It's where do you kind of stand on that? Do you stand on wanting to take more things into your own hands and take it and have more responsibility and be accountable for your own actions, for your own family, for your own healthcare, et cetera, just all the things down the line? Or do you want to pass those responsibilities off? And this is kind of what I wanted to get into next. We're not going to have all the answers on exactly what all the differences are between those platforms, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of similarities, but it really just depends on what do you prioritize. What issues are at the top of your priority list as far as what you inherently believe and what you value? That's kind of the discussion I want to have here. Is what, like, going into the voter booth November 4th, 2020. Q3, what do y'all think is the most pressing issue in your mind that will drive who you will choose in the election?
So I think, and I vote primarily based on economical reasons, as you can kind of tell. That's just how I'm wired to think. And that's going to be the primary issue again this year because, I mean, with the coronavirus impact, there's going to be things in a year, 2 years that this is ultimately going to affect that isn't really foreseen or talked about right now. And we're going to have a strong economy to push through that. So that is going to be my probably my most direct answer in terms of how I vote and what issues are important to me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna interject based on like what I had said prior into that real quick. Economy, don't depend on like the national economy so much. Like focus on local economy. I I personally think based on our debt based economy is what we have in the stock market is a debt based economy. I think that will collapse at some point. I think there will be a loss of industry, a loss of resources at some point. So we talk about national economy, focus on your local economy. Like what are people producing around you that you can benefit from, and what can you produce for people around you that they can benefit from? So I think one big thing in that is obviously food. We all need food. So I think it's something's going to happen at some point where we can't get food, and it's important to have food or food resources inside your community.
Yeah.
But Blake,
yeah, real quick. Yeah, let me interject real quick, Blake, and then I'll let you take us over. So that's kind of something I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought that up again, is importance. Like, these national elections are big. The way that I look at the presidential election is I look at, do we vote for the presidency as the person who kind of sets the national leadership, right? Obviously, the president has his defined roles within the Constitution as the leader of the executive branch. But nowadays, with the power of the media and the power of like outreach that we have, the president really sets the leadership amongst the country and also amongst our peers internationally. So, like when we have a strong-willed president, our place on the international stage is higher and stronger because people aren't going to fuck with us, and we're going to have a better chance of governing foreign policy and keeping our interests aligned, right? So yes, the national election is important, but the local elections are so important too because the people that you vote in your county and in your city are the people who decide zoning rules. Can a neighborhood be built? Can it be developed? Can it not? Can you open up more Walmarts, Targets, shopping centers, which stimulate economic growth? Like all of those decisions are decided by your local legislation, not President Trump, President Biden, whoever you're wanting to vote for, right? So keep that in mind, is that yes, the power of mainstream media really tells us how important the elections are. And I know 83% of people think that the world will change depending on who we elect in 2020, but also remember that the power of the voter is given to us by the Constitution, and that you also have the right to govern your locality as well. Like,
right. Yeah. So on November 3rd, not only are we voting for president, but we're voting for a lot of other local offices, and that's what's gonna affect you the most. There's a saying that it's the gears of big government turn slowly, and so any sort of change that is enacted up at the top, the highest level of government, it's going to take a real long time to trickle down to you. Whereas, all your local offices, the people that you vote are going to affect your day-to-day life the most. So that's, I think it's important to place more emphasis on that and realize the importance of those local offices. I mean, um, I think a lot of times people will that's where, party voting, staying within your party lines is where that comes important, because, if you identify as a Republican, well, then all your county offices and your local, all the way up to state offices, you're probably going to just vote Republican. If you're Democrat, probably just going to click the Democrat button. I know personally, it's a struggle for all of us. We're all busy. We all have our own, our jobs and things that we got to take care of in our life. So it's hard to pay attention to everything that's important to pay attention to. So I know when I go into the voting booth, a lot of times for those local offices, I don't recognize 80% of the names on there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just kind of a guess. It's like, oh, okay, I've seen his name before or her name before. I'll click that button.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
it.
Bingo.
And I don't know what needs to be done to place more importance on that, because the president and the presidential
Awareness.
office is such a figurehead. Yeah, just generating awareness. Just talking about it, realizing the importance. But going back to the question, the original question, what what I am looking for when I'm voting, when I press that button, other than a name that I've recognized before, is someone. Well, I look for two things. And this is this is going to the federal level. What I look for as a federal official, someone who's going to defend the country, someone who's going to make sure that we are not stepped on, um, by adversaries around the world. Someone who's going to defend our way of life as an American people. That's a big thing. Someone who's going to protect us from Russia, from China, from any other adversary that you can think of. There's a lot of people out there who want to take away our way of life, and if we're not careful, it's going to get taken away. It happens all the time. We're just fortunate enough to have had a strong enough country for the past 250 years where we haven't let that happen. Um, so defending our way of life, and also defending your personal freedom. That's probably biggest for me. Defending your personal freedoms and liberties. So ensuring that you as an individual have the maximum amount of freedom to do what you want, to pursue happiness. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That's what I look for when I'm voting for someone who's gonna genuinely uphold those ideals. Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
I got a question for you then, or a couple questions, I guess. Um, what country, nation, organization do you see as the biggest threat to the United States of America?
China.
China. Okay.
China.
Fair. China.
China. Um,
From my
Some
perspective,
people might say that that is because that's what Trump says, and really it's Russia. So what do you
I
say
don't.
to
I
those
don't.
people that Trump's working with Russia and
I
they're
personally just what I. This is just based on my own personal experiences and my own knowledge about world events. I don't. Going all the way back to the Cold War. I don't think Russia. I don't think it's in Russia's best interest to fuck with America. I don't think they want to take away our way of life. I think China does. I think China, through their own means, through subversion, through the theft of intellectual property, is working hard to establish their place as number one in the world. And we've seen this in, well, just one, how the country is ran as a whole. They're I think the official name of China is like the People's Republic of China, which is pretty misleading because they're a communist dictatorship led by Xi Jinping, or however you say his name.
some people would argue that they're not communists. What do you think about that?
I don't know how they're not communist. I mean, the
They're
government.
very capitalist. They have a lot of capitalist ideas and structures in their government and in their policies.
Look at the way that they treat Hong Kong, and
That's what I was gonna.
and you'll have a pretty clear vision that they're not a true capitalist society, and that they're bullies. They're bullies, and they utilize their communism beliefs to try to overpower free capitalistic societies.
Right. Every Chinese business, in quotes, is directly owned by the government. The government of China owns all Chinese businesses, and so that means they do whatever they want. And there hasn't been a whole lot of national attention on the issue of Hong Kong, but Hong Kong was essentially, up until about a year ago, their own, you know um, essentially a sovereign zone within China. That was like the business hub, um, where it was the freest part of China. And about a year ago, China decided that that was enough, and that they were gonna break the treaties established with them and Hong Kong. I believe it's the city of Hong Kong. I think they're still technically part of China, but they have their own separate laws establishing them as like
Yeah.
their own separate thing. But China essentially took over Hong Kong. They're like, nope, fuck y'all. We own you guys, and I think that personally, I think China is working towards doing that to us. A lot of American, I'll use quotes again, American companies are deeply tied to China, and are a lot of the big businesses that operate over here are owned by China.
No way.
I don't know how to respond
Yeah,
to
well,
that.
I second that, Blake. Well said. As far as like our biggest enemies go right now, I think that's definitely something I'd like to talk about more in the future. Is like what China is. How are they communist, and why should we be fearful of them as a country? And I think the TikTok discussion has really brought that to a head over the as far as like a national, as far as like a national conversation goes. As far as like obviously the trade war, but TikTok kind of being like face of that trade war. So Cameron, have you
people that are anti-TikTok are racist?
Yes, they are.
Yep. No.
And birds are
real.
I had a second part to my question.
Yep.
So I was asking about the biggest foreign adversary to our country, and the answer to that was China. The second point that you made was the biggest threat to our internal rights. Which right do you think is most threatened currently in the United States?
Info security.
So privacy?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would
So
agree
privacy,
with that.
you
The
say,
right
is
to
the
privacy.
most...
I know
Freedom of speech is
Cameron's
another big one.
saying.
The right to free speech.
Censorship is
Freedom of speech? Okay.
Censorship is more... Censorship right now is more like big tech consolidated, to where like big tech companies are basically deciding what you should and what you should not hear. Like if I went on Google and Google something right now, they kind of have the authority to decide what I see. And Twitter and Facebook have
targeted ads.
That's fair. That's
targeted ads.
A lot of people would say that Taco Bell has the right to not let you in and order food from them. So Twitter has the right to not let you in and post things to their page.
Yep. So I know
what do you say to that?
You want me to go ahead and say it?
What would you say to that?
So as far as like the enterprise system, they absolutely have the right to do that. On the scenario with Twitter, I also have the right not to use the platform and to go and use another, or to not use the platform at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
Obviously there's some complications there as far as okay, there's an oligopoly of organizations, platforms that I can use, but still I have the opportunity to not use Twitter. Cameron, I know you're going to say property right.
Oh, what? That's our biggest threat is property rights. That would be my answer.
Well, no, that like as far as your biggest threat of your rights to lose.
I don't know. I honestly don't feel threatened of losing any of my rights. I feel like I can do or say whatever. I can still carry a gun. So if anybody has a problem with what I say, and they can talk to me about it. If they want to get physical about it, then I'm getting a gun permit.
So Cameron has officially changed his name to Cameron Badass Cam. You can find him here on the. I'm just playing.
I've also been doing some shadow boxing in the pool, so fuck with me. Fuck with my right hook.
The quickest gun in the West, Cameron Campbell.
See what's coming.
If you're fucking with his rights, you're gonna catch his right hook.
Get that little jab.
Anyway,
right. Jab, right hook. You won't see it coming.
That's it.
Till it's too motherfucking late. Bitch.
Yeah. I want me to close out with my most important issue. Election.
Sure.
Yeah. Do it.
I'm on the edge of
Do
my
it.
seat.
So when I go to cast my vote in November, and I made the same decision in 2016 when I cast my vote. Three main things I look for. I think honestly, like our conversation here has kind of encapsulated all those three things. But number one, candidate embodies the fundamental values of the Constitution. Who will be elected that believes in the Constitution inherently and embodies those values of freedom, of individual liberty, and opportunity. Second, what candidate will defend the people of the United States, defend the people from their adversaries and their rights, and the people from terrorism, etc. It's kind of like a protection aspect. And then third, what candidate is going to promote policy to help create economic opportunity? Going back to our conversation earlier, we talked about, okay, the difference between equal opportunity and equal return. My viewpoint is, okay, if a president or if leadership can help create more opportunity for people, then our society is more likely to. So, economics, Constitution, and protecting us from protection. Those are like the three main things that I look for. We'll look for again in November.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, protecting the whole country is a kind of an iffy thing when you're talking about the federal government. You're talking about the president.
I don't expect Trump to be standing on the border with a AR in his hand and like a holster on his side, like, hey, my duty is to protect this country. No, I want him to promote the military. I want him to promote policy that enables the military, that increases spending, that gives the military the opportunity to. The military knows that their president has their back and is not trying to rip them down and discredit them like past presidents. Will not name names, but Cameron, please continue.
Definitely, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Go back to who is it? Theodore Roosevelt talking about the long staff.
The big stick.
The big stick.
I wasn't gonna say anything. But Blake lost it.
The long staff.
That's funny.
What is he, a wizard? Is this Gandalf?
James Rasmussen would be so pissed right now.
Where are we?
Theodore Roosevelt with the robe. Back.
The big.
You
stick.
shall not pass.
All right, the long staff.
Riding on a broomstick instead of his horse.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
Okay. All right. So Theodore Roosevelt talking about the big stick. The long staff sounds so much better, honestly.
No, it doesn't.
It does not.
It definitely does not.
Okay. All right. But
oh no.
Anyway, I think we should keep that. We should always have the largest and the most powerful military on the face of the planet to keep security, technology wise, weaponry wise, power wise, as far as people and resources, whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, I think we should always keep that, but I don't think we should be involved as heavily as we have been recently in foreign affairs. I think a lot of people in the U.S. would agree with that as well. We've been too involved with foreign affairs. We should be more concerned with our own country, our own economy, our own industry. Now, I've been pretty interested personally in creating a more sustainable life, a more sustainable household, and a more sustainable future for not only myself but my community. And I think the U.S. should do that as well, as far as creating a more self-sustainable United States of America, because we can sustain ourselves on the energy level, on the food level, on the manufacturing level, on every level. We can be self-sustaining. So I think it's important that we keep that here in the U.S. and we keep moving forward, self-sustaining instead of what recent and past administrations have done, which is send all the industry and send all of the jobs and sustainability off to other countries like China and the Middle East.
Yeah.
And that led us to wars in the Middle East. I do not want it to lead us to wars with China. I don't want to go to war with China. I don't want our country to go to war with China. I just want us to be self-sustaining so we don't have to mess with China. So China can do their thing and we can do our thing and not go to war.
That's a hard line to walk. Today's globalist society that we live in, where all these countries are so economically interdependent upon each other, just due to economic principles and the creation of the global supply chain and stuff. Yeah, that's a hard. You're right though. I mean, it's kind of that hard discussion of isolationism versus internationalism, globalization. So that's definitely a very contentious point in the election as well, as you have Trump, who has been very nationalist first, very America first, very, okay, let's bring jobs back to the country, let's bring industry back, like you said, versus Biden, who I think stands on, it's hard to not advocate for American jobs, but anyway, we won't get too deep into that right now.
So I want to say one more thing, real quick.
Yeah.
So this globalist society that everyone, I mean, it seems like everyone has been pushing for, is not necessarily beneficial. So it hasn't worked in the past. It's never worked, right? We've seen attempts at governments and societies to try and take over the world in the past. Like we learned that in history, Rome, the Mongols, the Nazis. We learned about them all, right? It doesn't work like when the people know about it. And personally, I think what's happening now is it's starting to occur, but the people don't know about it. They've sold it as separate nations and separate entities. They've been able to sell it how the people will buy it and take it, because they've realized that in the past it won't work as a one nation, a one world, a one world government. It won't work. The people won't accept it. The people are too diverse. It won't be accepted. I think that's why in the past 20, 30 years we've seen an underground conspired attempt to create that.
Take power through means of subversion rather than invasion.
Yeah, exactly. Subversion. You look at people like Yuri Bezmenov. He's been they've tried to suppress his writings and his knowledge of subversion. But look into him, Yuri Bezmenov. Definitely very important in the way that the New World Order will come to be, and maybe how it has come to be.
Yeah, subversion definitely, but it's honestly kind of out there in the open by now. Like, have you all looked into the Davos and the World Economic Forum conventions earlier this year? There's literal outspoken conversation from a lot of world leaders, random leaders too. But a couple of examples are like Bill Gates. You've got Prince Charles from the UK, Soros. A lot of these like globalist leaning people who are locally, trying to speak it into existence. So go check it out. World Economic Forum. There are terms kind of like New World Order and other buzzwords that get passed around as far as trying to create a globalist culture. But anyway,
Illuminati.
I mean, honestly, like that's kind of a lot of
the
the stuff
Illuminati are the ones that killed all the birds and replaced them with drones.
No.
Tired. You ready to tie this up?
Yes, sir.
I guess I want to make one more comment towards that.
Okay.
Towards the Illuminati.
Please don't. Please save it. No, just leave it.
No. It's just that.
Go
Like the Illuminati that we all think of and know of is not the real Illuminati. Like, of course, like if you don't think that the most powerful elites in the world are talking about narratives behind the back of the population of the world, then you're crazy. Like, I mean, there's no such thing as the Illuminati. I don't think they would name it that and release that to the public. It's much more secret. It's much more secretive to that. So watch out for terms like conspiracy theorists, flat earthers, Illuminati theorists, and stuff like that. No joke.
Birds aren't realists.
Bird. That's a funny.
Otherwise known as
birds aren't real is a funny thing. That comes from conspiracy theorists. So like different people that are into. Some people go for some and go for others, and like some people realize that some aren't real. But there are different conspiracies that have happened in our government, some of which are real, some of which are not, and the government has put out as decoys, so to say. So just keep an eye out for all of it. Question everything.
Ignorance is bliss.
Bill Nye isn't a science guy. The Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the feds and doesn't reserve anything. So question everything.
That's not even a conspiracy.
It's not. It's just knowledge.
There's no gold in the vault.
It's just common knowledge that people don't know.
What's in the box?
Yeah.
Oh God.
The Federal Reserve is not.
What do the numbers mean?
Speaking of box, I'm ready to get on box. All right, guys, real quick. One goal for the month of September. Everybody hit it.
One goal. So I'm on day 4 or 5 out of 21 of walking at least 2 miles every day. Bam.
You sound so old.
Nice. Walking, very good for your health as a 75-plus-year-old.
You're not wrong.
Oh my God.
Like,
yeah. Come back to me. I got to think about my goals. I don't have any.
What?
Cameron?
You haven't thought about your goals for September? Okay. I have. I really have 3, at least 2 new goals for September. One, I'm focusing heavily on fitness. I haven't put a hard goal on fitness in a while, but I'm 208 currently. I weigh 208 pounds. And the goal by the end of September is to be 195. So 195 pounds. That's 13 pounds to lose in September. I think I can do it easy. Second goal
just
is
fast.
Right on.
Yeah, honestly, intermittent fasting and drinking a lot of water and cutting out some carbs and unnecessary calories are the 3 things I'm working on this September. So intermittent fasting is only eating for 8 hours a day, working out consistently, and then cutting out carbs and unnecessary calories. Second goal is a reading goal. So I've been trying to read more. Just been trying to get myself to read more. But I want to set like an actual goal. Like I have a reading goal for the end of the month, and if I don't hit this, then I didn't reach my goal, and I feel shitty about it. So my goal for the end of the month is 3 books listened to or actually read. So I'm actually listening to 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person right now. I'm also reading the Enneagram book. And then I'm going to at least listen to or read one more book by the end of the month. And then I have a third goal, just to create things. I think that's important. Right now, I was talking about local economy and stuff, is creating value in your local systems, in your local economies. I'm going to try and build 4 things, 4 projects, either for myself, for my family, for my community this month. 1 a week is the goal. So I'm going to build / create 4 physical items.
It's cool.
Awesome, dude. So if you're going to be busy this month, and if you don't accomplish all 4, I'm going to beat your ass. We're all going to beat your ass together. We're just going to beat the shit out of you.
That's good. That's good accountability.
So, wager's been set. Manzer.
All right. So I would say something I've been thinking about a lot over the past couple of weeks is establishing a vision for what I want my life to look like 20 years from now.
There you go.
So I think my goal for September, I guess, is to actually just do some deep thinking, do some soul searching about what I want out of my life, all the way out till 20 years from now. That's in terms of my career, relationships, and just my general stature in life. Just I tend to kind of just go with the flow, roll with the punches. That's kind of just how I go through life. I don't really think about the future a whole lot, honestly, and that's something I want to get better at. So doing some more thinking about establishing what I want in life.
If you want to help with that, let me know. Because as you know, I am a huge planner. So I have,
you are
6 month, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year goals. And they change as you go. But if you need an accountability partner, hit me up.
Yeah, perfect. Yes. Manzer, how about I challenge you to you think about it, but also write it down.
Yeah,
sometimes our thoughts jumble around our brain, and then if you're able to actually write things down, then it kind of legitimizes it. Right there.
Definitely, y'all write stuff down for real. Like this is one thing I've been working on big time since I've started my recent job, is taking this little journal with me everywhere I go, like to work. Everywhere I go, and writing down different ideas and different thoughts throughout the day. It's like I used to think that I would do this on my phone in the Notes app, and I've tried to do it before.
Oh God,
jot stuff down.
Disaster.
But you never do it.
That's what I do.
You never do it. I never did it. I mean, I can't say it. Okay. If you can do it, great. Like honestly, great. But I can't. I couldn't. And I wouldn't write stuff down like in notes. And I've been taking this to work, and I filled out so many pages in the past week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Ideas, business ideas, just thoughts throughout the day. It's kind of just a journal / reference book for me. When I think about something, I remember something, I write it down, I go and find it. Especially for these podcasts, I have ideas written down for this podcast, for my goals. I make weekly goals, I make monthly goals, stuff like that. So I think that's just very important. If Blake, I did a lot of the same stuff. I just rolled with it, went with the flow, did everything that was coming at me throughout high school, throughout college. I was only in college for 2 years, but throughout high school, like whatever classes my brother signed me up for, I did. Like I didn't back out of them. Like I just did them, just went with it, went with the flow. But I was never really like looking back at myself, looking back at my own thoughts and ideas and passions and interests and just really inner stuff that you can get down on paper that you might think about subconsciously or have in the back of your mind, but when you get on paper, you can really visualize it and realize it and implement it into your future.
Right.
Right
Yeah,
on.
that's good advice.
It's more about seeing it every day, whatever medium does that best for you. For me, whiteboard right here on the wall, 1 out of 1,000. I know what it means, and I know what I got to do to get to 1,000. So,
Definitely.
Right on. So I guess I'll close this out. So, number one goal is I'm going to beat Manzer's ass in fantasy football this year.
Shit.
So that I'm gonna wake up. Everything I do every day will be towards accomplishment. No, I'm just playing. So, September. I'm gonna run 30 miles this thing, boys.
Wow.
Oh shit.
Big goal.
That's a lot. That's a mile a day.
It is. Yeah. I'm gonna run 30.
Do it.
And also going to kind of along with Blake, and this is just something that I've been battling with like over the last couple months, but I'm challenging you, Blake, because I'm also challenging myself to create a vision. It's something that I think about every day. Obviously, I'm in a transitional period, like looking for my next move, etc. So I'm gonna establish a vision and work on that, and try to write some things down, and really, legitimize my thought processes. And from like a creativity standpoint, obviously this podcast is definitely like one of my weekly goals, is trying to create the best content that we can for listeners. I'm definitely gonna try and read more. Brian, I'm about to finish up Defining Decade. Definitely challenge you guys to read Defining Decade. That was really good. It's really good, really relatable. Really solid, really relatable to what we're all going through in our day and age. But anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna say run 30, formulate a plan, short term and long term, and read more. And I think more of my reading is probably gonna be Bible related. I've been really slacking on that recently. I usually try to read every morning. I've really been slacking on that, so I think I'm gonna challenge myself to get back to reading my Bible every day. Those be my 3.
Definitely,
Solid.
that might be my 3rd book actually, because I haven't chosen a 3rd book yet.
It's a big book.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of books in it. It's a combination of a bunch of books, so I might read Revelation or something like that. I've started Genesis recently, and it's quite an amazing book. No, I know I will. I've looked at it a lot, and I've read a lot of verses, but I haven't read it start to finish yet. So I know I will. Revelation. Here we go. I think I'm going to make that my 3rd book in September. Catch a dub.
I got to piss like a racehorse.
Same.
Yeah. All right. Let me close this off. All right. For those of you who stuck out with this marathon with us, thank you so much. We appreciate y'all. This is Cameron Campbell. We got Blake Manzer. We got Brian Edwards, and we got Garrett Lusk signing off from BFT. Hope you enjoyed the election themed episode. Get out and get your ass registered to vote. See you next time.